He says, I shall give them one heart and one way to fear me all the days for the good of them and their children after them. It has to do with this idea of I'm going to give them one heart and one way. Look, they ended up in this problem because they had a divided heart and all kinds of variety of ways. This is very important. And I know it's not going to be popular, but there are people out there right now who claim to be Torah pursuant and Messiah believers who somehow believe that this is a very big tent, so to speak, and everybody in it is welcome, whether they call themselves Christian or Jewish or Messianic or whether they keep this or keep that. That's not one way and one heart. Now you say, well, I can't see whether it's not one way. You can clap for that. All right? I didn't want him to clap by himself. Okay, so the one way, I guess you can understand, but what about the one heart? We're talking about having one heart to put him first and not have it be your version of what he said or how you would rather what he said be applied. They're going to have one way because they're going to have one heart to just do it what's pleasing in his sight. Now he says, I shall give them. I want you to understand scripturally, this is not what you were taught in your Christianity walk. Give them does not mean actually I'm going to hand it to them by fiat. I'm just going to give it to them. It always means I'm going to cause them to go through the process where they're going to desire this and then they will have it. That was the whole point. Look, if he was just going to give it to you, why wouldn't he give it to them before they suffered so long? Or why not shorten it up a whole lot? Why are we even doing all this that we're doing now? Why hasn't he come back? Because he, being very patient, it says, is waiting for whatever he's waiting for down here in terms of the amount of people at whatever level he may be looking for of understanding and getting their heart aligned into that one way. This is why I don't mean to be sarcastic, but this is why when people are so obsessively wanting to figure out ways to name dates and think he's coming in a year or whatever it is, I laugh a little bit because my thought is, because I don't look at blood moons, I look at the state of the body. And my thought is to come back and get what? He's supposed to be getting and returning and grabbing back out of the dispersion those who have one heart and one way. We don't see that, not a whole lot. We see 1,000 ways and all kinds of hearts. We don't really see that. And I think he's looking for, I use the phrase critical mass, like he's some sort of number that when he has that number, that's enough for him to go to the next step with the millennium. That's the number he wants to be working the next step out with. And so he's patient. He's going to wait till he has that number of bodies that he knows will work for his next step in the plan, which is the millennium. This is why this teaching fits perfectly into today, because today is, as we come out of Sukkot into Shemini Atzeret, is like going from the millennium into the kingdom. The kingdom meaning the forever. After that 1,000 years, the next thing it says is then the kingdom goes on forever. There's a separation of this period of time for 1,000 years. And so, if you've listened to the Millennium and Kingdom teaching, then you know there's going to be a lot of things for those in the first resurrection to do during the millennium. And so while we're doing those things, he already knows how many beings, how many people he needs to implement that plan with the number of people that will still be alive, and then the others that will be resurrected into flesh to go through the process. He knows the team he needs the number of staff members, if you want to call it that, the people working for him to serve his body, he knows, well, let's say there'll be about 2 or 3 billion people still alive after all of the destruction, because it says 1/3 by the sword and 1/3 by pestilence and all this, and disease, but there's still 1/3 left. And right now we've got 7, almost 8 billion people on the planet. So it's over 2.5 billion people will still be alive if it happened now. So how many beings do you need to serve that many? This may be really with the parable where to some he'll give 10 cities and to some he'll give 5 cities. You may be given cities to work with. But still, several billion people, that's still a lot of cities to take care of, even if he's giving 10 to a few people. And they're probably not going to be overpopulated cities like, the really big cities of the world like New York or Hong Kong or something that's, millions of people to work with. Because even the great Moshe himself was burdened with the 2 to 3 million he had and was told, wisely so, to find others to help him with the burden. So let's understand that these verses are coming about and showing us this picture, and it's about him giving us the opportunity to develop the one heart and to choose the one way so that he can then do good to us and to our children after them. Right? It's like it says. He says, I shall give them one heart and one way, to fear me all the days. If you don't fear him properly, your heart's wrong. What do I mean by that? You have an emotional challenge that's hampering your ability to give him the correct and full amount of awe and reverence because your heart's divided. If your heart really was all for him, then you wouldn't have any of those issues. So you have no problem fearing him. We don't fear him because we're busy fearing other things and giving reverence to other things or being self-sovereign and sitting on our own throne. And so we have to really be aware of that. If you're not really sure what this fear of Yahweh thing is, listen to the teaching, Fear of Yahweh. And you will understand what it truly means to fear him. And the subtitle was, If you fear Yahweh, you'll never be afraid again. And so this is what he's talking about here. So now you don't have to agree with me because you want to believe he's just going to give it to you. Well, then my challenge to you is then what is he waiting for? Because clearly if he's giving it to you, you don't already need to have accomplished anything because he's going to just give it to you. Oh, I don't worry about these things. When we get resurrected, we're going to get new hearts and this and that and one. Okay. You're going to get a different garment, so to speak. You're going to go from the corruptible to the incorruptible. You're going to get a new suit. But the parts of you that are inside of it, that's already got to get fixed. And wait for then. You may be a day late and $1 short. You got to work on this now.